Welcome to another episode of Almost Ordained. I'm your host, David. This is our second season. In season one, I did a series of videos before called Faith in a Time of COVID-19. I was hoping by the time I got to a second season, I could move on to another topic, but it is still with us. Now, I've mentioned in previous videos that I was diagnosed with clinical depression in 2000. This is not the kind of depression that comes and goes. It is a mental illness where your brain doesn't produce or receive enough natural antidepressants like serotonin, dopamine, or norepinephrine, what I like to call happy chemicals. In spite of that, I've been in a pretty good place the last 4 years or so, until March this year. Everything shut down. We were told to stay at home, and if we can't, wear masks, stay at least 6 feet apart, wash hands, and all that. I think I adjusted better than most people because I'm naturally introverted. Stay home? Fine. More time to read and write. As long as my wife and I follow the protocols, we don't have to socially distance from each other. But as the weeks went on, I noticed I was much more anxious than I had been in years. Anxiety and depression often go together. For people in that situation, I recommend professional counseling. I hadn't seen a counselor in years myself because I said I've been in a pretty good place the last 4 years, until recently. But I was getting beyond the point where I could handle it on my own. I signed up with BetterHelp.com, an online service that matches you to a therapist, and I'm glad I did. I said I was interested in doing cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. Though I've had counseling in the past, I wanted CBT this time because I've heard it's especially effective for depression and anxiety-related illnesses. The core theory behind CBT is that thoughts lead to feelings and feelings lead to actions. Negative thinking produces negative feelings, which produce negative actions. So the key is to identify those negative thoughts, analyze them, and deconstruct them. If you're feeling depressed or anxious, there's probably a negative thought driving it. Deconstruct that thought, and you deconstruct the depression or anxiety you feel in the moment. At least that's the theory. And that is actually in line with some of the advice that has been most helpful to me in my 20 years of recovery from depression. Well, so far. I've said it this way: you cannot recover from depression if you believe everything your depressed brain tells you. So, after my first session, one of my first tasks was to name the negative thoughts behind my anxiety. Here's how that went. All these people not wearing masks and not socially distancing because if I get it, I get it. No. If you get it, you'll spread it. Or they think wearing masks is some kind of government conspiracy. A conspiracy? To do what? Stop the spread of a contagious disease that's killed over 120,000 Americans so far? You really think the Constitution rises or falls on you not wearing a mask during a pandemic? How can you be so selfish, so paranoid? You're the reason this is never going away. Okay, sorry if I stepped on anyone's toes there, but this process only works if you are completely honest about what you're thinking and feeling in this crisis. So, that was a necessary step in the process. After identifying the thoughts, you look for any cognitive distortions or how your thinking does not line up with reality. So let's examine it piece by piece. If you get it, you'll spread it. Is that real? Well, according to the experts who are studying COVID-19, yes, it is. Most people, when they get it, don't show any symptoms for several days. And unlike some viruses, this one spreads even before you show symptoms. And if you say you don't believe the experts, remember these are the same experts charged with finding a vaccine. If they come out with a vaccine, will you take it? Or will you say, oh, this comes from experts, I don't want that? If you trust them with finding a vaccine, you should trust them with when they tell you how to stop the virus from spreading. Do some people believe the guidelines to wear masks are a government conspiracy? Yes, I've seen and heard them, and I don't understand why. I don't understand how sound medical advice has become so politicized. And that's frustrating. They're not only endangering themselves, they're endangering others by their stubborn refusal to wear a mask or socially distance if that's not possible. I don't see any distortion of reality there, except from the conspiracy theorists. Are they the reason this is never going away? Not the only reason, but why have we seen spikes in cases and hospitalizations all over the country? Is it just because there is more testing? Experts say no. And if there are more hospitalizations, that means there are more cases, not just more positive tests. Why is it spiking upward? You see pictures all the time of crowds of people not wearing masks. In the beginning, we were worried more about elderly people because they were more likely to catch it and more likely to die from it. But now, experts say it is being spread by young people out and about in crowded places where no one is wearing masks. They pick it up and spread it for several days before they even know they have it. And the people they spread it to pass it on to others, who pass it on to others, who pass it on to others, and on and on. If this is our norm, it will keep spreading. I don't see any distortion of reality there. Is it never going away? Well, at some point it'll go away, but it won't be by magic. As long as people keep spreading it, it will not go away. At some point, doctors will find a vaccine and/or a cure, probably, but we don't know how long that will take. It would be easier if we knew how long we would have to work on flattening the curve, but no one really knows how long will go on. So I distorted reality a little bit there. Only a little bit. Now, sometimes, I'll admit, I do distort reality. The fact is, we all do. And it's always obvious when someone else does it. Have you noticed that? It's like, so-and-so said this. Oh, that's the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard. We don't notice it so much when we do it ourselves, do we? Knowing that, when I go through this exercise, I cross-examine my thoughts as relentlessly as a zealous attorney. When I see that my thoughts don't match or distort reality, the feelings of depression and anxiety often go away with it. In this case, however, my thoughts seem to line up with reality pretty closely. So, what do you do now? Well, after you have identified ways that your thoughts have distorted reality, if you still need help, look for emotionally loaded words. Words like, selfish, and paranoid. I said that, and they are pretty loaded. Perhaps I should point out here that I don't think everything through this thoroughly, and in the middle of a heated argument, I'm not any more rational than the next person. I can distort reality as well as the next person. This is the type of exercise you can do when you have a chance to sit quietly and sort through your thoughts or actions after the fact, and a bit more objectively. If you have identified thoughts that are emotionally loaded, as I did a minute ago, you want to think how to recast them in a positive or at least a neutral way. So here is how I rethought selfish and paranoid. Everyone is under a lot of stress right now. People under stress often make bad decisions and behave irrationally, myself included. Not much I can do to change that. Maybe if I can ease their anxiety, they will come around and make better decisions. If not, I will keep wearing masks and socially distancing as long as I need to. Now, I take a deep breath, and I feel better. I haven't changed what I think is right or wrong in this situation. I still think as long as people refuse to wear masks and socially distance, the virus will keep spreading. And the numbers we've seen in the last couple of weeks especially are bearing that out. I still think that kind of behavior is wrong. But my attitude toward them has changed. In fact, I asked my counselor if she has been busier since this whole thing started. She was like, oh yeah. She had only one slot open for a session the next week, and it's all been people worried about COVID-19, not only for themselves, but their families, friends, coworkers, and everyone they come in contact with. The social unrest in the streets. A whole lot of anxiety and not knowing what to do with it. I was like, so I am not the only one. Thinking about how we're all under stress now in ways that we're not used to, and it makes me more generous towards them. Because of that, I'm not eaten up with anxiety, anger, and frustration anymore. As my thoughts changed, my feelings changed, and I'm in a healthier state of mind. Now, BetterHelp also offers something called Groupinars. It's like a combination webinar and group therapy session. I sat in on my first one a couple of days ago, and there were two great takeaways I got. One, some people were worried about what others would think about them wearing a mask and telling people to keep their distance. The therapist said, if other people's opinions threaten your life or the lives of the people you care about, screw their opinions. I was like, yeah. I'm wearing a mask and keeping my distance whether you like it or not. You may be willing to take that risk for you and your family. I am not. Because it's not just about protecting myself. It's about protecting the people around me. I don't want to be one of those who catches it and then spreads it to other people, especially not my wife, because I did not have any symptoms. If I get it on me and don't shower and change clothes before getting close to my wife, I will give it to her. And if I breathe it in or get it on my hands and touch my eyes or my nose, my mouth, showering and changing clothes won't help because I'll have it inside me. I've said this in a previous video, but it bears repeating. I social distance from you so that I don't have to social distance from her. One other takeaway, I remembered something I used to do that worked well. Meditating on Psalm 46, verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. So I'm going to make another video where I walk you through how that verse calmed me at times when nothing else did. There'll be a link in the description if you're interested, and I will walk you through a meditation that worked for me and might work for you. So for now, thanks for watching. Whether you come back or not, remember these words from Matthew 7, verse 12. In everything, do to others as you would have them do to you, for this is the law and the prophets. Grace and peace to you.